It is a windy but beautiful day here at the beach. Your boys here to talk about the 2025 Eagles draft. Let's get into it.
Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps six real. I'm simply statue think they slate, dropping unrealistic man. 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, slip on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keep six real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals to fill the day.
Hey, the Eagles draft, it's over with. Now, we still haven't seen them go on the field yet, so we don't have a full assessment. But this is going to be a perceived assessment of how I feel the Eagles draft went, theoretically. What is the potential good, potential bad, a little bit of both that comes out of this draft? What's my letter grade for it? All that. Let's dive right into it. We start off, the Eagles, following their tradition of recent years, of letting the draft board fall to them. Sometimes they might trade up a spot or two, but overall they let the draft fall to them. Like you see, this approach started after the disastrous 2020 season with the 2021 draft. We initially had the 6th pick, we traded back to the 12th spot, then traded up to the 10th to get Devontae Smith, as one example. We've seen it like with getting guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, also Quinyon Mitchell. We let the board fall to us. Maybe we might trade up a spot or two, but we did that here. Traded up from 32nd to 31st. We get Jahad Campbell, from Alabama to fill that space at linebacker. He was 5th in the SEC for total tackles in 2024. He's got plenty of upside, got that dog mentality, and he's a perfect fit because he grew up outside of Philly and is an Eagles fan. So morale reasons on top of his good play. Now this is a good spot for him for that reason, as well as for Jahad Campbell. He's not going to have as much pressure on him initially because Zach Baun's going to be the leader in the linebacker room. So you're coming in, you're turning in a rookie into a situation with the defending Super Bowl champions, a team he grew up a fan of, but you're also putting him in a spot where he's not going to have the instant pressure of being a number one linebacker. That's still going to be Zach Baun. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off him as a rookie, which can be a benefit as well. And if you look at his play in Alabama, particularly last year, he showed some potential to succeed at the next level. But again, you're not bringing him in as a number one guy right off the, maybe he could as time goes along. Maybe if he has a few really good years and, a few years from now, maybe he could be in a position, but we still got to wait and see. But as of now, it looks like he'll be a rotational piece in the linebacker core, but that's a good fit for him. He doesn't have to have too much pressure right off the bat. And it fills a void at linebacker that was left during free agency. And then we get to our 2nd pick. We got Andrew Mukubu from Texas. He was in all SEC honors, had a total of 69 tackles, 7 pass breakups his final year, but he also, for his career at college, had 23 pass breakups, 6 interceptions. Solid safety. Now he's going to be coming into the room. Reed Blankenship still going to be leading that room. But you bring him in, you don't put as much pressure on him. There's not going to be as much pressure on him at safety. And plus, he's going into a secondary that you already have. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean at defensive back have their feet wet. And you have Reed Blankenship still going to be the lead guy early on. That's a nice move to fill a depth void. And you're bringing in a guy with potential to succeed at the next level who's not going to have all the pressure in the world on him right off the bat. And plus, you're bringing guys like Campbell and Mukubu into a system where you got a trustworthy defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. You have a defense that's been built up, properly groomed by Fangio, looking to continue right where they left off with their Super Bowl win last year. So you're also bringing these guys into a good spot as well. And this is a perfect example of letting the board fall to them. That's something Howie Roseman's done well. Here's 2 picks, fill voids on defense that can help out. Then you get the 3rd pick. Ty Robinson, 15 tackles for loss, but he's coming in here to the Eagles. He's not going to be expected to be the number 1 guy, but he fills a void at defensive tackle. He can be a good role player in this situation. And again, you're bringing in a guy who's a depth piece, but he's not going to have all the pressure in the world on him. And that could help them as they go along with their careers. Now, sometimes the reason why guys that come out of college that aren't the biggest prospects succeed at the next level is they don't have huge pressure. You can look at the quarterback position. Now, I know that's an entirely different position, but the one thing it has and that you can pass on to any position is sometimes the players that don't have the most pressure, they can succeed. It's easier for them to adjust to the NFL level. But you're bringing in 3 guys at defensive tackle who aren't going to have all the weight on the world right away. You have trustworthy guys on your defensive line, your secondary, and your linebacking core. You at least have leaders there that can help these guys transition into the system in Philadelphia. And they have a trustworthy defensive coordinator fresh off a Super Bowl win. And a dominating performance against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you come back after that, you get Mac McWilliams, a defensive back. Hey, he's just a depth piece at this point. Maybe he stays, maybe he doesn't. But, you got your offense established. So, at this point, you don't really have a lot of voids to fill. So you can take chances on just signing guys who are there on the board. And then you get a Drew Kendall later, a center. But you already got Cam Jurgens. Drew Kendall's just a depth piece. You see, maybe he makes the team, maybe he doesn't. That's one of those you see what happens, because that's what happens with the Eagles when you're not in a deep rebuild. It's easier to just fill in depth pieces for roster spots in the later rounds. And then same with Kyle McCord, the quarterback. You're going to need a backup quarterback, possibly a 3rd stringer if needed. You saw last year you had to rely on Tanner McKee in the Cowboys rematch at the Link and during the holiday season. So obviously, there's a possibility you could have your 2nd stringer, 3rd stringer start a game or get some playing time. So you need Kyle McCord. You need at least someone for QB competition for the backup spot or possibly the 3rd stringer if you need him. Or you go back to years ago to 2002, A.J. Feely was the 3rd stringer. He had to start a few games. So it is a necessary pick for that reason. You need a 2nd stringer, 3rd stringer in case you need them to play. Then you got Miles Hilton, offensive tackle, and then Cameron Williams at tackle. Those guys are mainly depth pieces. Maybe they make the roster, maybe they don't. Maybe they're practice squad guys. Maybe they have to step up if someone goes down. Maybe they're that next man up at some point if needed to. And then the last pick, Antoine Powell-Ryland, defensive lineman. So all these later picks, once you mainly get past the first 3 picks, they're all mainly depth picks to fill spots on the roster. So for this draft right here, I'm going to give this draft a B because you didn't really have any slam dunks, really. But then again, you didn't need to. It was well played considering the position the Eagles were in. You mainly had to fill the voids on defense left during free agency. That's what you did. You got yourself a good linebacker that could potentially succeed at the next level. You got yourself a safety that could potentially blossom and grow that next level. And you got yourself a defensive tackle that could be a rotational piece with your first 3 picks. Then you're not bringing them in necessarily with all the expectations in the world to succeed. They're going to be working with guys who are already in the system with the secondary guy. Like, for example, linebacker core. Zach Baughn's the leader of that linebacker room. Jahid Campbell's going in there. He's not going to have all the pressure in the world on him to be the number 1 linebacker right off the bat. He can take his time and develop throughout his rookie season. Andrew Mikubu. He's a guy, Reed Blankenship's still the lead guy for safety. He can take his time, blossom, learn as he goes along. Ty Robinson, a rotational guy. Jalen Carter's still the lead guy on that defensive tackle. He's going to get better with more experience. And then, for your rookie in this case, you got Ty Robinson. He can just, he can take his time, develop as time goes along. You also still got Jordan Davis there as well, so there's not going to be as much pressure on him. Then the rest of the guys, McWilliams, Kendall, McCord, Hinton, and you got Williams, and then, Ruland. They're just guys that are there to fill spots on the roster. Maybe they have to step up, but maybe they don't. But they're just kind of they're depth pieces or potential future pieces to step up if needed. It's not really a big risk involved with these guys. It's a low risk, low reward situation. So this draft was well played. You did good with the most important picks. You got guys that could succeed in their roles, that have the potential. So that's why I give this a B, because you did well with the picks you needed to, but you didn't really have any slam dunks. But to be fair, the Eagles didn't need to, so I'll leave it at that. You guys comment, let me know what your letter grade for this draft is. It's your boy Nicky Stees signing off. Fly, Eagles, fly. Super Bowl champs. We coming back 2025 for a repeat, baby. That being said, have a great rest of your night or day. It's your boy Nicky Stees signing off. I'll catch you later.